In Albion, knowledge is everything.
Knowledge.
And if you don't know where to go to get that knowledge, you are in big trouble. Luckily, you already watched this channel, so you're off to a great start. But if you want to expand your brain and learn how to do some Albion research yourself, you need to keep watching. If you are familiar with any online video games, you probably know that there are various tools out there to help players gain knowledge about the game, the economy, or their fellow players. In this video, I'll showcase the different websites I use to supplement my Albion experience, and go over exactly how you can get the most out of them yourself. First things first though, an explanation of the limitations compared to other games' third-party tools. Albion has a very limited API. Basically only the kill board is public, so getting real-time data about anything in-game is limited to PvP kills. That was until the Albion Data Project. The Albion Data Project is a community-driven project that tracks the market activity of players that use it and uploads that information such that it is available in aggregate via API for other tools to then pull from. This has opened up the opportunity for many developers to create semi-live updating profit calculators for a wide variety of economy methods, using the data that those individual players upload. Going forward, remember to keep in mind that many features are only possible because of what is basically opted-in data tracking by everyday players. Okay, onto the websites. Starting with the OG community website for Albion, it's Albion 2D and their second sister site, Murderledger. The homepage shows the same leaderboards that you can see in-game, with the different pages listed up top where the real value comes from. The first page is for Meta, which shows the most commonly seen items broken down by the rough group size that the item was used in. This is a fantastic place to start if you are looking for a new build to try or wondering what items you should start speccing up if you want to be more useful in larger group play. The 1v1 meta page shows you full builds, sorted by most commonly seen for the past week. As you increase the group size, the consistency of full builds goes down, and the page starts to display just weapons. For larger and larger group sizes, you are more likely to encounter custom builds with different gear tailored to the individual group's preferences. Speaking of specking up gear, the Destiny calculator lets you see how much fame an LP is required to reach any level in a node, so you can plan out how many crafts you need or how long you would need to grind PvE for spec. Because of the change to learning points, the crafting Destiny calculators actually have an error. Since Quick Learn multiplies your fame by 5 instead of letting you skip a 20 like it used to, the calculator still shows you the number of crafts as if you did not have LP active. If you are planning on using LP on crafting spec, just know that you actually only need 1/5 of the crafts listed here. Same for the mob fame calculations. The total fame is the same even with Quick Learn on, just reduced to 1/5 if you're planning to use LP on the combat nodes. One of the final options is map. This page shows you a map of all of the different cluster zones, and if you select a cluster, you can see where each of the resource nodes are to get an idea for where to most efficiently farm a specific resource. As far as 2D goes, these pages are the main value over other alternatives, but the rest of the pages are still useful for one-off viewings. That is except for the sixth option, Murderledger. Murderledger is the second site from the Albion 2D team, and is basically an improved view of the Albion killboards. The homepage has a player search bar that I'll cover in a moment, in addition to highlighted kills in the 3 categories Juicy, High Rank, and Streamed, that you can look into to get an idea of how the biggest kills are happening, what the top meta Slayer CD builds are, and what the streamers are up to. Up top though is where there is some good research value. The build stats page shows what has been recently popular in solo PvP, and you can sort and sift through the table yourself to inspire new build ideas. By changing the dataset, you can get lists for builds that do the best at 3 separate IP ranges. Stalker shows builds that are good with low IP, between 1000 and 1050, which is the range of IP you would see in an IP soft-capped Stalker Corrupted Dungeon. Slayer shows the mid-range IP builds, 1350 to 1500, which is people using about tier 7 or 8 equivalent gear with close to max spec, and is the general range for soft-capped Slayer Corrupted Dungeons. The high-rank dataset is an even wider IP range, and shows stats for builds that do well in the high IP ranges, but also includes the build from the Slayer dataset that are good enough to be good in this range as well. By choosing a dataset that corresponds to your current account progression, both in terms of spec and available silver, you can see what builds are currently overperforming to get an idea of what you should be using yourself. You can also filter to only see a specific weapon to find out if your favorite weapon has a build that you didn't know about. Looking up your favorite weapons on the weapon matrix page will also show you a rough estimate of what weapons are countered by what other weapons in the rock paper scissors meta that is Albion, either confirming or debunking your suspicion about that unwinnable matchup you recently had. Currently this page looks a little bit silly due to the depths skewing some numbers for some crystal weapons, but it is still generally correct. The VODs page has links to people's public VODs where you can see the various builds in action if you wanted to review someone else's gameplay for how to play a certain build. There is even a custom leaderboards page that shows the current distribution of Murderledger MMR, which is an estimate of how often someone wins in roughly similar IP 1v1s. The main way Murderledger is used though, is the player search, where you can see the stats of any player for their kills, deaths, and assists. You can track how well you personally perform with certain builds, and even track your own MMR progression to get a feeling for if you're getting better at 1v1 PvP over time, and compare with your friends.
For one thing,
compare with friends.
On to the next website, and the one I personally spend the most time on out of the list, Albion Free Market. Albion Free Market has many nice pages to let you know generally how you can make silver using the data from the Albion data project we mentioned earlier, but also lets you fill in your own prices to double check before a big crafting decision. My personal favorite page is their old crafting page. Through a series of dropdowns, you can check and compare the potential profits of any given craft. Here's a quick step-by-step walkthrough of how I check if the current daily bonus is worth black market crafting that you can follow along with and substitute whatever the daily bonus is when you're watching. We start by opening the activities page in-game to see what the bonus is, and then hop back to the craft page. For item selection, search up one of the non-artifact options and make sure you are viewing all tiers. Change the pulled prices to at least 14-day average, or longer if not all prices fill. Buying in either the city where the craft will happen, or, if you're willing to transport, the city where the refining bonus is for their materials, and the sell location to the black market. Change the return rate to 30% for a 10% daily bonus, and check Use Journals. Go to the Journals tab and change locations to buying and selling in Limhurst. From the tiles below, you can see how much profit there will be on average for the various black market crafts. Keep in mind that any enchanted items will have much lower sale volume on the black market, so try not to get baited by a high profit 0.3 or 0.4 craft. Just stick to the best profit 0.0 and 0.1 crafts. Once you have a good idea of what might be profitable, you can double check the prices in game and start making money crafting. If you have a set list of items you craft commonly, you should use their new updated crafting page. It works almost the same as the old version, except it requires a little bit more initial setup, but has additional sorting options and views to help you decide what is the most profitable thing to bring out to a hideout or transfer over to the black market. Albion Free Market doesn't just have profit calculators though. They also have data from the kill board with their meta items page that lets you sort and see how many times an item has been seen on the kill board. A nice trick with this page is to sort by how many times someone has died wearing a certain item. The resulting list shows the most commonly worn items when a player dies, giving you an idea of items that are both used commonly and also have had 30% of them trashed with the many deaths, for a high demand and lowered supply for a potential crafting opportunity. There are quite a few features of the app gated behind a paywall, but honestly, 90% of the use case comes from the free pages I just covered. Up next is a relatively new site with Albion Grind. The main use case for this site is seeing and tracking journal progress on journal missions that you don't have the visibility unlocked for yet, as well as looking into various rewards that you can anticipate or work toward. Their free profit calculators are also very helpful, with an especially neat view for what island activities are profitable. For viewing animal profits, make sure to check the food cycles column to verify what the daily profit would be compared to the total profit. The tools page can also be helpful, but are outdone by other options. The builds page is also another neat place to go to find builds. Unlike Murderledger or other meta build pages based on kill boards, the builds on this page include PvE options, which you will only ever see as victims from the PvP meta pages. Similar to Albion Free Market, most of the pages are locked behind a paid subscription, but most of the value comes from those free pages. Up next is another very popular tool, but not too useful for solo players, and that's Albion Battle Board. It's just like Murderledger except for large-scale fights. You can track which guilds and alliances are getting into and winning or losing what fights. So far this off-season, there have been a ton of big fights even without having season points on the line. Clicking on the details of a specific fight, you can see which guilds are winning, at least in terms of KD, and if it was because of an IP, mass size, or just skill difference, as well as who are the most lethal players, and below that, more breakdown on what the different sides of the fight were bringing, and how the fight turned out over time. Aside from analyzing boards to flex on your opponents or teammates, Albion Battle Board has a favorite guild feature. If you search up a guild, you can favorite it to have it pinned to your homepage and allow the guild view page to quickly see battles your guild has been in and track attendance and ZVZ stats for your guild. By applying filters to the player size and date range, you can see how well your guild is doing at various sizes for content recently, and the tab between guild attendance and battles to give you a quick look into the boards filtered just to your guild. The Tools tab has a few of the same tools that we saw on other sites, but has one that we haven't seen before: hideout return rates. This interactive table shows you just how much of a crafting bonus you can get out of having a high-powered hideout in the Black Zone. Information that's not even shown on the main wiki. Speaking of the wiki though, we have the wiki. The wiki doesn't have any tools like other pages do, but it does have the largest repository of information for you to look up, just like with any other game's wiki. You won't find any stats or meta builds, but if game system information is what you're after, there's not much of a better place. The main drawback of the Albion wiki though, is that it is criminally under-maintained. It has some outdated information on some pages. For example, the Awakened Weapons page has some good info on what the system is and what the various possible traits are, but no information on how much rolling or upgrading traits cost past the first awakening, or how to calculate how much silver has been spent on a weapon already, or even what the reattune cost would be if you traded it. While generally it's good stuff, do make sure that you double check with anything you notice that seems like it would be super OP with either a Reddit search or by checking the patch notes. Which brings us to the last website I'll be covering today, the test server/NDA feedback pages. Usually within a few days of a new patch dropping, the devs will already have an idea for what the next patch is going to be, and you can find a draft version of the upcoming changes on the test server forum. Generally interesting if you're invested in the game's future, but occasionally there will be a large change in the test server notes, and you can have a heads up before other players on items or trees that will be more or less meta, so you can start fame farming early or even buy order materials that will go up in price, or dump stock of items that are about to be nerfed. Depending on the SBI team member doing the posting, the pre-change patch notes will either show up under the test server feedback or NDA playtest developer statements. This is by no means an exhaustive list, and there are new websites for helping players with Albion popping up every few weeks. Before you go though, there are 2 last-minute tools we need to talk about that are not websites. As already mentioned, the Albion Data Project client tracks all market orders your client sees and helps keep the community database up to date. If you have anything over the bare minimum internet speed, you can help the community as a whole by running an ADP client along with Albion. The other non-website tool that is very valuable is the Albion Statistics tool. The stats tool tracks basically all stats in-game in real time, meaning you can get an accurate data of how fast you are currently making progress on your fame, silver, and might gains over time, as well as having options for logging what loot people are picking up near you and how much damage everyone in your party is doing. Links to download both tools are in the description, along with an affiliate link for Albion Free Market if you decide to get a subscription. If you learned about a new web tool or resource, make sure to give this video a like. If you want more Albion tips, guides, PvP gameplay with review commentary, make sure to subscribe. If you feel like you can't get enough of me and want even more, you can make sure to go over and follow my Twitch stream. Have a good one, and I'll catch you next time.